Wonderful Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, 352024. And I hope you are ready for an after school, after work story. This is William Still and his freedom stories, and hopefully we can get to the second half of this book. You know, William Still was named the father of the Underground Railroad. We know who the mother was, Harriet Tubman. Okay, so they traced his childhood. He was born, he had, I think 15 brothers and sisters. At first, there were only a few of them, 4. And then his mom and dad had more children, but 2 of the boys had to go away. The mother had to make a decision to let them go and to be sold, and they were separated. And I'm not sure if he ever met those brothers, but it stuck with him, and he was able to get educated at age 17, because when he was younger, and this is so important, back then, kids or children, slaves, they could not go to school only on rainy, very rainy days. It was soggy, muddy, because you couldn't do farming on those type of days, rainy, soggy, wet. And one day there were some mean boys who threw him over the bridge into the water, and just saw some traumatic experiences. Well, now he is old. I think he's in his early 20s, where he said he wanted to see the world. And he fell in some hard times because he thought it was going to be easier than it would be. And here we're picking up at his biography. But then a new opportunity arose. The Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society needed an office clerk after he suffered so much in hunger and homelessness. And you see this? He had to sleep on the floor, and it was just tough for him. Well, they needed an office clerk. The pay was disappointingly low. Okay. But the job might lead William straight to the most prominent anti-slavery organizers in the area. With a foot in the door, maybe he could help enslaved people escape from the South. Reluctantly, he accepted the job. "I go for liberty and improvement," William wrote in a letter to his new employers. In his new job, William sorted mail, emptied trash, swept office floors until his arms ached. Not quite what he had hoped. William's employers were doing the work he hoped to do. They were abolitionists who spoke loudly against slavery. They sponsored meetings, signed petitions, published newspapers. William worked hard beyond his office duties. He earned his employers' trust, gained their respect, their loyalty. He climbed higher and higher until one day he became the manager. Can you believe that? He ascended to leadership level. At that time, freedom-seeking people were drawn to Philadelphia like a magnet. It was the nearest free city to the slave-holding South. They arrived daily by the dozens, passengers on a secret network called the Underground Railroad. Freedom-seeking men and women, young and old, and in between, running, hiding, praying. They traveled from house to church, river to swamp, stop to stop to stop. It was a dangerous, top-secret journey from slavery to freedom. The passengers who arrived in Philadelphia were tired. They were sick and hungry, cut up, broken, marred and maimed, frantic, fearful, and fed up, but hopeful. William sought these travelers out and welcomed them into his home, yes, which was now a station on the Underground Railroad. Beautiful. Yes. One evening, an unexpected passenger arrived at his office. The man was middle-aged, stooped back, furrowed brow, threadbare clothes. His name was Peter. He was looking for his mother, his family. Is that Sojourner Truth? You know, she had a son named Peter. Peter recounted his story. William listened in awe. Turned out Peter had been enslaved in the South for more than 40 years. He'd gotten away. Now he'd wanted to find his family who had escaped before him. Peter recalled the names of his parents, Levin and Sidney. He named one of his brothers Levin. Oh, maybe that's his own brother. Let's see. William was thunderstruck. Could this man be his Peter, his long lost but never forgotten older brother? Yes, he was, but Peter was confused by William's news. Was this some kind of trick to capture and return him to the South? He needed some convincing. Oh, this is beautiful. From a mother who looked just like him. Yes. Peter's story was sad, tragic, miraculous, and extraordinary, and Peter's story restored his family. Could other people's stories rewrite and reunite other families torn apart by slavery? From that point forward, William recorded every detail about each freedom seeker who passed through his home or office. He recorded their names, ages, boy or girl, man or woman, the hue of their skin, copper, chestnut, dark brown. You see all those facts? Who had enslaved them? Where did they come from? Where were they going? It wasn't his job to do so, but William thought these written records might help someday. William's hard work didn't go unnoticed. He climbed higher and higher at the Anti-Slavery Society, becoming a leader of a committee assigned to help freedom-seeking people. William corresponded with other agents on the Underground Railroad. He conducted interviews, counted money. He planned the rescues of freedom-seeking people, but his work didn't stop there. Wonderful. William also recorded the stories of people seeking freedom on his line of the Underground Railroad. In many ways, this was the most important work. William and Ellen Craft, a married couple, escaped slavery in Georgia, traveling on first-class trains. They stayed in the best hotels and dined with a steamboat captain, all in disguise. Fair-skinned Ellen passed as a white man. Her husband pretended to be her slave. A man enslaved in Virginia climbed into a wooden crate and had himself shipped 28 hours to freedom, earning the name Henry Box Brown. And on several nights, freedom-seeking people passed through William's line of the Underground Railroad network, led by Harriet Moses Tubman herself, who had gone into the belly of the South to rescue them. William's committee provided them with money and replaced their worn shoes. Some very important work. It takes all types of people to carry out the mission. Oh my. William's work grew 2, 3, 4 times as long. His records helped reunite families torn apart by slavery to find each other once they'd found freedom. But when enslaved people escaped, their Southern enslavers lost money. They demanded new laws. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was enacted. It required the return of runaways who had been captured, even if they had found their way to freedom. Can you believe that? People living in free states where slavery was outlawed were forced to cooperate with the law or to be brutally punished. The Fugitive Slave Act resulted in the kidnapping of free black people by greedy slave catchers and federal agents. No black person, free or not, North or South, was safe. William's work now put him in great danger. His records were evidence of crimes committed. Just horrible. Oh. William had a plan. He bundled his records, all those stories, and placed them where no one would think to look, in the back of a cemetery inside a dark vault, among the rats and the dead. The laws were meant to shut down the Underground Railroad, but shut it down they did not. In Pennsylvania and New York, Michigan and Vermont, black people, black neighborhoods, black churches drove the Underground Railroad full steam north, carrying freedom-seeking people straight on into Canada, known as Freedom's Land. where they would be safe. Yes. William's work at the Anti-Slavery Society was outstanding, but after 14 long years, he made barely any more money than he had on the day he started. That's okay. Helping freedom seekers was his passion, but passion didn't put food on the table for his growing family. It was time for a change. William resigned from his job at the Anti-Slavery Society, and he started a coal business. Okay. In 1860, the United States was bitterly divided over the issue of slavery. War broke out. Many died. In 1861, a new president was elected. Could Abraham Lincoln reunite the country? Would he choose freedom or slavery? In time, Lincoln did the right thing. He chose freedom. William's coal business thrived in the shadow of the Civil War. By the 1870s, he was one of the richest black men of his time. Wow. But even now, life was still not always fair, especially to black people. William used his power and influence to help. Black children had been excluded from the YMCA, so William helped start a branch for them. Black people had been forbidden from riding Philadelphia city streetcars, so William protested and won. Henry Box Brown arrived by Adams Express. His marvelous escape from slavery in a box. Harriet Tubman had been their Moses, but not in the sense of Andrew Johnson. She had faithfully gone down into Egypt and had delivered. Of course, Harriet was supreme. Her followers, Ellen and William Craft, were slaves, and as with thousands of others, the desire to be free was very strong. For this jewel, they were willing. Ellen, being fair enough to pass for white, of necessity would have. Slavery brought about many radical changes. In 1872, he published his book, The Underground Railroad, a collection of stories of hardship and hairbreadth escapes. William Steele's records and the stories he preserved reunited families torn apart by slavery, because that's what stories can do. Protest injustice, soothe, teach, inspire, connect. Stories save lives. William's stories needed to be told, so slavery's nightmare would never happen again. Oh, wow. This was very beautiful. Are there any more pages here? Nope. You get to see the timeline of William Steele. Hopefully you can see that. Let's see if I put some more light. Would that work? I don't know if it'll work. Can you see that if you need to pause it? And the author's note. We don't have time to read this, but if you can enlarge that and pause it, maybe you can read it. Okay? And, here's some more pictures and some sources for research. Very good. And like I said, I think, Don Tate. He's the author and the illustrator. Well done, Don. Let's read about you. He's an award-winning illustrator, numerous books for children. And, oh my goodness. Don lives in Austin, Texas with his wife and son. You're great. So many books. No Small Potatoes. Alley-ooping the Slam Dunk. Swish. I already read that. Junius G. Groves and His Kingdom in Kansas. Just some great stuff. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tate, for reminding us of the legacy of greatness, excellence, and we can do some things too. Even, doesn't matter how much money we have. Let's make a difference. Let's share. Let's impact and inspire. Have a good evening.